Welcome back, LinkedIn. Welcome. It has been a couple of weeks off since we've been live. And to those of you who have clicked on the button and don't know who I am Aileen Day. I am the owner of Value Driven Brand and Meraki Business Solutions. And generally, I like to come and hang out a couple of times a week here on LinkedIn Live and talk all things customer, employee, and human experience. And for those of you who have been here before, you will know that we call that the joy of sex. So where we left off prior to me having up-teen wonderful interactions with Telstra, which I will also add is still not rectified. So let's just point out that the customer experience in that situation is a little bit lacking. Before that all came to a crashing halt, where I had no internet, we were talking about the components of customer experience, and we were talking about the components of employee experience. And before we were so rudely interrupted by not having any internet, which really is a travesty this day and age. I know, a first world problem. But we were going to be talking about human experience next. And it's interesting, yesterday, you might be able to tell I'm not in my usual location. I'm visiting some friends in East Gippsland, which is regional Victoria. And I wish I could turn the camera around. I did actually have it facing the other way, but the light was so bright that you couldn't even see anything. But that way is the canals that go out to Lakes Entrance, and it is certainly a very serene and peaceful location, especially after the 2020 that we've all experienced. It's nice to get away and have a different environment for a few days. But in said environment, yesterday, I got the privilege to write my first article to be published with Smart Company Business Magazine, and submitted that yesterday. And that was all about what is the joy of sex and, where's it come from? And I was explaining in the article that basically I was having dinner with a couple of friends one night, Josh and Maylise, and wonderful people. And we were talking about customer experience and employee experience, and we were talking all things, experience and how that plays out in life and how that plays out in your business. And kind of for the next few weeks, I was thinking there's just something missing. Like there's more to it than just those two components. And I kind of sat on it for a little while, and I considered it, and I thought about all of my experiences in taking care of customer experience and taking care of employee experience. And I thought there's really just this magic ingredient that hasn't necessarily been considered, that is probably the most important aspect to making those things really pop. And it came to my realization after more conversations and more consideration and more reflection, that it really was the human experience that was missing. And for a while now, for any of you who might follow me, I talk about human experiences a fair bit. And for a lot of people, they say to me, well, what does that even mean? Like, we're all humans, but what's a human experience? And one of my first forays into kind of considering that human experience was a talk that I did on self-awareness. And basically that journey for me of how using self-awareness created a level of consciousness for me that has not just helped me get through some really less than desirable experiences in my life, but has also helped me to reframe and get out and re-experience those parts of life again, so that I might have the opportunity to learn from them and to consciously do them differently. And that comes with learning and practicing patterns of behavior like self-awareness. So I thought, right, well, self-awareness is most certainly an aspect of human experience. There's not many animals in the animal kingdom that have the cognitive function of reflection, the cognitive function of understanding their capacity to create impact to others and to themselves. And I think, one of the best parts about being human is that we get that function. Every single human has that function, whether you practice it or not. It is there within you, like all good meditation people tell you, everything you need is already within you. You just have to learn how to tackle it and how to bring it out to the forefront to use for good and not evil. So, that was basically one of the first kind of aspects of human experience that I started considering and thinking, right, well, that aspect of consciousness and self-awareness, that absolutely plays into the success of your life. It absolutely plays into the success of your business. But that isn't the only aspect of a human experience. And, what I would love for you to consider, and if you're watching this live or otherwise, maybe throw in the comments what you consider to be an aspect of a human experience. And, if you're not sure, maybe you could think about things such as motivation. Motivation is, the way humans can be motivated is so compelling. And I've talked about it before. I don't have it with me here, but there is a book called Drive by Daniel H. Pink. One day I'm going to get the opportunity to talk to that man. I'm just going to fangirl the shit out of him. He's going to love it. But he has a fantastic book on motivation and what the surprising truth about what motivates us. Self-fulfillment is a human experience. We have talked about on these LinkedIn Lives before, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, sorry. And one of those highest needs is what's called self-actualization, and otherwise self-fulfillment. And it's basically working towards a purpose. So many of us maybe don't know what our purpose is, but we have this yearning to fulfill it, to live up to something. And half the battle, but half the journey is finding out what that purpose is. And then the other half is, doing whatever you can do to get there. And maybe you'll never get there, but at least putting yourself in a position where you are creating self-fulfillment in your life is one of the best ways to create a life of value. What's another human experience? Creativity, imagination. I don't know many, maybe dolphins. I think dolphins can paint, but how many other animals in the animal kingdom other than humans create things from their imagination? Think about architecture. Some of the most insane pieces of architecture around the world started off as somebody's imagination. Somebody designed a castle, and said, I'm going to build this. and the next minute you got Disneyland. It's just insane what the human imagination can do. Things like human experience comes out with rationality, being able to rationalize something. Except, fun fact, you think you've rationalized it and your brain has actually already made a decision before you consciously are aware that you've made a decision. How fun's that? So you think you're being rational, but your brain has already done the math back there before it's consciously become aware of your decision. So neuroscience, mind-blowing shit. When we talk about business and human experience, we're talking about things like empathy, right? Putting yourself into the shoes of the person delivering the service, putting yourself into the shoes of the person receiving the service. One of my favorite conversations used to be when I worked at Bunnings, and we used to talk a lot about acknowledgement. And what would happen is a customer might go into the aisle and there would be a team member, but the team member might be busy. And whether that was with another customer or they were up on a ladder putting away stock, whatever the thing was. And ultimately the result of that was that the customer would be ignored. And that's not great. However, there was no empathy, right? The customer had no empathy for the team member who was busy, and the team member had no empathy for the customer who was standing there waiting like a lost little puppy. And something had to change, something had to give. And so I brought in, it was not very popular, but it worked great. I brought in a rule that said you had to acknowledge your customer within 30 seconds of them arriving into your kind of periphery. And what came out of that was a subset of challenges where team members and their leaders didn't believe that that was a fair thing to do. And I would push back and I would say, you need to have some empathy, right? Because what I would do is I would tell the person, please come into my space, and they would stand there and I would ignore them for 30 seconds just to make a point. And the point was that they know that I know they are there. We all can see each other. And the reality is that all I had to do was to look over and find some method of acknowledgement to let that person know that I would be with them next. And when that started to happen and the changes started to be seen, the customer feedback that came back from it was phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. We started getting complaints because too many people were saying hello to them. So I would get complex managers calling me up and saying, Aileen, I just got a customer complaint because the customer got sick of people being nice to them. And I said, what a horrible complaint. Are you upset about it? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, so what's the problem? Would you rather it was 10 people were bastards to them? And he's like, oh, no, not at all. I said, well, that's fantastic. Go and tell the team they're amazing, because they are. Because what they did was they created a human experience. They put themselves in the shoes of the person who was standing there, who can see that the team member knows they're there. And rather than being ignored and not feeling welcome, by a simple method of acknowledgement, and it might have been a quick wave, it might have been a wink, it might have been a, hey mate, won't be a sec, whatever it was, they took away that animosity and they created a human experience. They made that person feel welcome. They motivated that person to stay in the warehouse and keep shopping. And they made that person feel like they belong there so that next time they come back in, they know that that's exactly where they should be. So there's so many elements to a human experience, but I think one of the biggest and quickest wins in business that we can do for ourselves is just to have a little bit of consciousness, a little bit of self-awareness, and a little bit of empathy. And the level at which those three things will provide you a return on investment is utterly astounding. Utterly astounding. Hi, Paul. Thinking back as an employee where you have had a manager that gets to know you as a person, you will have worked harder and been happier in that role than one where you had a manager that only cared about the job on hand. It is powerful. Absolutely. We don't want to work as a robot. We don't want to be treated as a robot, and we don't want to work for robots. We want to work for people. We want to work for people who give a shit about us. We want to shop with people. We want to shop with people who give a shit about us. And to give a shit about somebody ultimately means that you need to have a level of care and empathy for those people to start that human experience. And you really just roll the ball from there. Self-awareness, I think we've already talked about what I call the brace position, but maybe we'll come across that again. But ultimately, customer experience is one thing. Employee experience is another thing. But when you really kind of start to dabble in a human experience and what that means and how you foster a human experience, not only do you foster a human experience in your business, you take those skill sets home. You start to understand that when you care about other people and you show a conscious level of care for other people, that they start to care about you. It is this big, beautiful, totalitarian circle. Totalitarian? Not totalitarian. What's the other word I'm looking for? Someone might come up with it. I can't think of perfect world. It's not a perfect world. We all know it's not a perfect world. But how you put yourself into that world, how you put yourself out there, how you deliver yourself will most certainly define how others receive you. If you put yourself out there, like Paul said, if you put yourself out there as a boss, as a manager, as somebody, I used to have a manager who would say to me, he would say, Aileen, if it gets really busy, don't call me. Yeah, don't call me. And then I had another boss who said to me, Aileen, if it gets really busy, I don't really know much, but if I can help, sorry, this is what happens when you do a live and there's a dog. Tommy. He said, I don't know much, but if I can help, please just let me know. Look at the difference that makes. Like a little bit of vulnerability, but a little bit of empathy. Like, I don't know everything, but I feel that you are going to be under the pump and I don't know how I can help, but any way I can help, I want to be there for you. That care, that support, that human. Now I'm motivated as a human being to create an even better experience. Because now I think, okay, even if I do get under the pump, I now have the opportunity to maybe teach this manager something that he obviously is willing to learn. And learning is another aspect of a human experience. There are so many, to be honest. We're very complex beings. But the reality is that when you start to consider how to strategically put in human experiences into your business, they will naturally fall into creating value in your personal life as well as your professional life as well. I used to get laughed at. I don't care, laugh at me. But years ago, I used to tell people, and I still do, years ago I used to tell people that I would test leadership theories on my son, on my child. And people thought I was very strange. And I said to them in response that if you can get a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, now he's 10, I'm pretty sure it's actually getting harder the cluier he gets. But if you can get a child to do the things that you need your team to do, then you are definitely, without animosity, right? Then you are certainly in a position of putting yourself into a human experience. Because children don't have the same motivation as maybe your team do. They don't get paid. They don't understand the corporate ladder. They don't know office politics. So having a person like that to test out human experiences really does help you deliver an even better experience to the people who are going to be the ones that push your business forward. So that's about all I've got to talk about for human experience today. All of these lives are very shortly going to be made available on my website. So if you haven't seen all of them, or I refer to one of them in particular, what I will soon be able to do is do a backlink to that particular episode in the comments so that you can go back and refer back to it as necessary. But the reason that I'm putting them on the website is, ultimately the information that we're kind of going through on here is just wasted sitting on LinkedIn going nowhere. So I want to be able to share it. I want you guys to be able to learn from it and to be able to use it yourself. And, my mission is to ultimately see 10 million businesses creating their own trusted and value-driven brand, and then taking that value and putting it into their own lives as well. Because, we need more of that. And we need to stop it from being a buzzword and just being an actual way of living life. So the more we can get these out there, the more I hope that will help. So apart from that, I just this will be the last go live before New Year's, since that's tomorrow. I just want to thank you all for your support. Thank you all for those who turn up, watch live. Thank you all to those who turn up and watch after the fact, or leave comments, or, share, cheer me on, whatever the case is. I want to say thank you. I'm also very mindful of being very Greek today. My hands are everywhere. Goodness gracious. I think if I sat on them, I couldn't talk, to be honest. But I want to say thank you, and I want to wish you all a wonderful and safe and happy New Year's to those who are currently in a lockdown. My heart goes out to you. It is a short-term pain for a long-term gain. To those in Melbourne, well done. Keep up the good work. And everybody else, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful and brilliant New Year's Eve. I hope whatever you've got planned is enjoyable and self-fulfilling. And I know mine will probably have some champagne involved in it, hopefully without the hangover in the morning. What a way to start the year. But That is pretty much it from me. As far as I'm concerned, 2020 has been a fucking game changer. And I have, minus the solitude, had a really, really fantastic year and have done so many amazing things that any other normal year probably wouldn't have done. So I have nothing but gratitude for this whole year. And to be honest, I cannot wait for 2021. There is some mad shit in the pipeline, and I am going to absolutely knock it out of the ballpark. And I can't wait to bring you along for the ride. So, from me to you, please have a wonderful New Year's, stay safe, and we will be back on live on, I want to say Sunday at some stage. Sunday 11. Yes, tune in. Let's make it the first one for 2021. We'll go hard. That's it. So join me for the ride. Till then, I'm Aileen Day. Have a wonderful rest of the week and year, and I will see you on the flip side. Catch you later.